Today, I'm going to talk about input formatters in Flutter, which is also known as the format as you type kind of form validation. So the title was originally format as you go, but later on I thought format as you type is more accurate and sounds less like a marketing pitch. So that's what the input formatters do, format as you type. First, a little bit about me. I'm Yong Shean. I've just recently become a Google developer expert in Flutter, and I'm a full-time Flutter developer in Comerge solutions since about 2 to 3 years ago. And so far, I'm enjoying most of the experience of developing with Flutter because of how easy it is to learn and also to build beautiful UI and to provide good user experience to our app users. And I'm also a director of Women Who Code KL, which is a non-profit organization that help people of all genders, and especially women, to excel in their technology careers. And lastly, if you have any questions on Flutter, feel free to reach me on LinkedIn. And I also wrote a few articles on Medium. I'm planning to write more, so if you are interested, you can follow me on Medium. And I have also set up a few code repositories of Flutter examples in my GitHub as well, so you can have a look and leave some feedback. So now let's dive into our topic today, which is about input formatters. But what are input formatters? So this is what I've been talking about. Like, let's say in your text field, you want to allow the user to input only numbers, and you want to display the 1,000 separators as user type in the numbers. Or you want to put a space after every 4 digits in the credit card number field. And maybe you want to have a date placeholder so that your user can just type in the numbers. They don't have to put in the slashes. So in general, these are the things that improve user experience and also reduce the chance of getting an invalid input. So this is what I've mentioned just now. It provides a as you type validation and formatting of the text that is being edited. And there are many examples of such application, like credit card numbers, phone numbers, zip codes, currency values, and there are a lot more. Well, then you will ask, why do we use input formatters and not input validation, where you just show an error message right below the field? That's because sometimes it is more useful to just block user from typing the characters that are not allowed instead of just showing a validation message. So next, we are going to look at how do we achieve this in Flutter. And lucky for us, we have a text input formatter class in Flutter that can make our life much easier. And feel free to look up the documentation of the class in this link over here. But if you're too lazy to read, I'm going to explain about what's in there in a second. And there are 3 built-in implementations of text input formatter. So first, let's say you want to limit the number of characters that is being input to the field. Then you can use the length limiting text input formatter. So once user has entered X number of characters, then the field will truncate the characters that comes after the length X. Then we also have the filtering text input formatter. There are 2 ways of defining this. So one is if you want to allow only a certain set of characters to be entered, then you can use the filtering text input formatter .allow. And on the other hand, if you want to blacklist only a certain set of characters, then you can use the filtering text input formatter .deny. All right. And now for the filtering text input formatter, there are 2 static properties that come with the predefined regular expressions that you can use. First one is for digits only. So this will allow only digits to be entered in the text field once applied, and it uses the filtering text input formatter .allow to do that. And the second one is single line formatter. This basically allows only one line by using filtering text input formatter .deny to disallow the input of the new line character, which is /n. And there are more examples. So as long as you can imagine it in regular expression, then you can filter in whatever way that you want. So if you want to allow alphabets only, then use the filtering text input formatter .allow and throw in the expression that contains the set of alphabets. Or if you want to disallow dashes, then you can use a filtering text input formatter .deny and throw in dash in there, and you are ready to go. So no dash allow. Just for your information, dash is a mascot of Dart and Flutter. And what you're saying that's not enough, then you can always implement it yourself. So what you do is just to extend the text input formatter class and implement the format edit update method. And here's an example that I found in the Flutter gallery code base that formats the number input to follow the US telephone number format, which has the brackets, spaces, and dashes. So as you can see, the possibilities are endless. And after you have prepared your text input formatters, where do you place them? It's very simple. Just have to throw in your formatters into the input formatters list of the text field that you want to apply the formatters, and that's it. And you can see here, you can throw in as many formatters as you like, but take note that the final result will be an intersection of all the input formatters in the list. So this makes it very convenient if you want to combine the input formatters like filtering text input formatters digits only, and also a length limiting text input formatter. So that in this case, for this text field, the user will only be able to input only digits and only up to 8 digits. And of course, you have to be careful not to put any conflicting input formatters, then you will get some unexpected result. Okay, I've done enough talking. Let's see them in action. Meanwhile, please help me to keep your fingers crossed so that we can have everything run smoothly. But lucky for me, I don't have to do live coding like Shihao does. So I have already prepared the codes here, and I built a Flutter app that shows the examples, like the types of the input formatters, and then also some applications of that. So as you can see here, there are the three types of input formatters that I have covered just now. The first one is .allow, then we have also the .deny, and finally the length limiting text input formatter. So if you want to use them, it's very simple. You just have to plug it into the text field, as you can see here. And then I put my input formatters here. So this takes in a list of text input formatter. So as long as the class here, it extends text input formatter, then it will be allowed to put here. So for the first one is a filtering text input formatter that allows alphabets in small letter and capital letters, and also a space character. So let's see what I can type in here. So I can type in any alphabets in capital letter also, and then I can type in space characters. So this is what it does. And then next we can look at the filtering text input formatter .deny, which here you will define the set of characters that you don't want the user to input. So here we have this one. So it disallows the input of a space character. So I still can input my alphabets. I can even input numbers, but I will not be able to input space. So this is what it does. And I will not be able to, yeah, here we have a single line formatter, which forces input to be a single line so that you cannot have multiple lines in here, which here I couldn't press the enter anyway, so it's okay. And then finally, we have the length limiting text input formatter. So this one, I put here, I put 8, so it means I can only input up to 8 characters. So let's input anything that we want. Then I will not be able to continue input anymore. It will stop here once it has reached 8 characters. And just now what I mean is if let's say you want to combine multiple input formatters, is fine. It's just like this. You can put as many as you want. Just that you have to be careful to not put conflicting ones. Like for example, if I uncomment this and hit save, so what will happen here is I will not be able to input digits or any alphabets because these two rows are conflicting each other. So you have to be careful not to do that. Let me uncomment again. Okay, now we can look at our examples. So here I have listed down quite a number of examples that we often see in apps. So first we have the credit card number. So let's open up the code. Yeah, so it is this part. And then here for text view, you can also define the keyboard that is shown so that, okay, when user tap on your field, so this is the keyboard type that is shown on screen. So here I only want to allow user to type in numbers only. So I just put a text input type .number. There are the other text input type also, you can explore it on your own. So here I have one credit card formatter and then also the length limiting text input formatter, which I set to 19 because credit card numbers are usually in 16 digits. And then we have three separators, which is the space. So you can see the effect here. Let me type in something. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, I'll just go like this: 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And then once it has reaches this, then I will not be able to input anymore. So here I use a custom text input formatter because I couldn't find anything that is built in that can support to place a space in between every 4 digits. So let's dive in and see how's the code like. So here I'm extending the text input formatter. And then if you extend this class, then you have to override this method, the format, this method, and then you will write a function that return the text editing value. So here I also have a built-in function. No, it's not a built-in function. It's also a function that I wrote, and I also copied from this particular code repository. Thanks to that. So there, I copied out this part because here it adjusts the selection index pretty well. So the first step is you want to remove all the invalid characters. So let's say if your field only allows numbers, then you want to filter out the characters that are not numbers. So this is what it does. I'm calling the text input formatter that I define in my credit card formatter here. So it's digits only. And then after that, I do some manipulation to calculate the correct selection index after each character input by the user. And finally, you will return a text editing value that comes with the value of the updated text, and then also the selection. So this is the position of the cursor on each character input. And finally, you have this composing as well. To text range the empty means that to tell Flutter that the user is not composing anymore. So let's go back to the credit card formatter. And then here I have a format pattern, which is run somewhere during here, yeah, which is before I return the final text editing value. So here is where I define what is the pattern of the final output that I want it to look like. So in short, it is just trying to insert a separator, which is a space character on every fourth number. So yeah, this is what it does. And finally, we have this custom text input formatter that helps us to format the credit card number. Then we can go to the second one. The second one, I believe I am using, yeah, this one. I also have two text input formatter here. So one is the telephone number formatter, and then second one is also to limit the length of the characters that can be entered. So that here you can see the effect. If I enter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, after the, okay, I should use the keyboard here. After the 9th character, then you cannot input anymore. And also I insert the dash on after the third number, and also a space here so that it will look better. And let's see how it is implemented. So same, I'm also extending the text input formatter. And then right here, you can see that in my format pattern, I just look through the filtered string, and then what it does here is on the fourth character, then you write a dash, and then on the 8th character you write a space. So yeah, with this one, then you can do something like this. It's very powerful, right? Okay, now let's continue to the next one, which is 1000 grouping. So again, here I have only one formatter, which I call it the thousands formatter. So let's see the result first. So here I didn't specify the keyboard type, so maybe I should do that. Keyboard type, text input number, or text input type dot number. Okay. And yeah, so now it is showing a number pad instead of the full keyboard. And then go to our thousands formatter. Here, this one is a bit complicated because this particular class, I will generalize it to support fractions, which is has decimal places after the integer. And then also I will allow it to support the sign numbers. So let's look at this one. Let's enter some numbers here. So here on every third digits, then there will be a separator here. So this is the thousands grouping. And what I use here is, and again, I'm using the text manipulation method that I wrote. And then here, the text input formatter that is being used on this field is the usual digits only, but with a dash if it allows negative number. And then for the format pattern, then this one is for negative numbers. And then this one is for decimal numbers. So I'm trying to pass the number that is input by the user. Then after that, I will use the formatter to format the number, which the formatter is this one, the number format. This is something that I import from the INTL package. So they have many different number formatters, which is very useful. In our case, for one example is to group thousands together, or to support decimal numbers, or even for displaying the currency values. So I'm making use of that one to format the final display. And the rest of it is just some edge cases handling. Yeah. So let's go back here and see what is the next one. Then we have the decimal number. Here, okay, let's tap on this. Then you can see that you can define a text input type. You can use a text input type dot number with options. So when you put decimal is true, then you will see that on your number keypad there is a dot. So this is for you to enter the decimal number. So let's enter something. So here I can input the decimal places, but I will not be able to input more than 2 decimal places, because here in the thousands formatter, I have a default value of decimal places 2, which I pass into the number of decimal places in the number format, so that this formatter will help us to format and truncate the user input. So we can do this pretty easily. So yeah, it has the 1000 separator as well. And I can do this. All right, now let's move on to the next one, which is the number with negative. So here, then again, this is the same, but this time is with sign true. Then as you can see here, the keyboard that is displayed is the full size keyboard, because in iOS they don't have a number keypad that can cater for the negative sign. So in iOS they will show a full keyboard, but you can always control the input by using your text input formatter. So here I put the allow negative true, and allow fraction is also true. Then you can see that, okay, in this input, I can put in the negative sign, and I can put in my numbers. And it also supports the decimal numbers as well. So now let's go to the final one, which is the currency value. So here if you see in the banks, it's very common for you to see that, okay, if I want to enter 10 ringgit, then I will need to start entering 1000. So this input formatter will help us to achieve that purpose, and you will see it in a second. Yeah, so again, extending text input formatter. And this time I'm making use of the number format.currency, which it has a lot of localization codes that you can put in here. So here I'm using this one, and then you can also define the symbol to display. So I think if I commented out this one, then you will see it starts with NYR instead of RM. So this part is very flexible. You can define it here. And again, here it is very similar to the thousands formatter. The only thing that is different here is I did some magic, which is instead of letting the user to type everything, including the decimal separator, the dot, here I'm just letting user to input the number, the digits itself, and not with the decimal dot. So yeah, there are a lot of edge cases to handle, as you can see here. And let's say if you don't want to handle the selection index, which is crucial if you want to support the input from user's keyboard, like not the on-screen keyboard, because on-screen keyboard is usually okay if you want to let user to press this thing only. And if you just disable this cursor, then you have much less pain to handle. So what I mean is, if let's say the user wants to go back to a previous position, which is not the end of your string, then you want to handle this correctly. Like if I want to change this to 1556. Okay, so as you can see just now, after I have inserted the characters, then it's the selection index, it remains at here at the correct the correct index. And this is very important if you want to provide a good user experience. So if you can control, like to disable this one, to not let user to start editing from the middle, then you will have much easier life in trying to determine the correct index by using this function instead. So I have a second version of the text manipulation where I don't care about the position of that cursor on every edit. So what I did is I just apply the input formatters, I apply the format pattern, and then I just return it, and I put the offset. This one, it means the position of this cursor at the end of the string itself. Then this will be much less complicated. So just offering an alternative way to deal with this if you can, if you have a choice. Yeah. So yep, that's the end of my demo today. Let's go back to the slides. So actually, I don't have any more slides. So yeah, as you can see, the possibilities are endless. You can try the text input formatter today. You would not regret it. And I have the source codes of the demos ready in my GitHub. So feel free to check it out and use it in your code. but I cannot guarantee that the codes are bug-free. So if you found any issue, please file it there. Or if you want to suggest an improvement, you can create a pull request. And if you have any questions on Flutter, feel free to ask now or reach me on LinkedIn. So that's it for my sharing today. Thank you so much for listening, and passing the stage back to Chi-Hong.
How to display author name in the code editor. I think this is for you, Shihao. I guess it's a comment, right?
I read it already, and I can't remember, but basically it must be some integrated feature of VS Code, which is the IDE I use, or I must have installed some kind of plugin that does that kind of ties into how Git works. So sorry, I don't have a clear answer, but my IDE is Git. Sorry, it's not GitHub. It's VS Code, and then there might be some plugin I use for GitHub or Git, and that's why I can see that.
Okay, cool. Here's another question from Wei Yang. Is there a possible way to do localizations without context?
I think it's possible, but the workflows that we provide use localizations with context, because I think the idea is that the translations could update like in real time, or like let's say you switch between localizations, you have to like push the load the values like asynchronously, right? So if you do it kind of synchronously and you have it as part of your Dart code, maybe you could come up with your own system to have localizations done without accessing the context as well.
Will this be applied to hide the password as the user types? I guess this is for Yong for input formatter.
This one you can use this one to hide the password, but there is a better way to do this, which is already in the text form field itself. I think it has one property called obscure text. So you just set that to true, so that then the password will be hidden. You don't have to do extra things on that. Yeah.
This is just a question on my part. Quite curious. Can you obscure the text and also format with, like, for example, additional commas when adding more numbers?
I believe you can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's totally possible.
Okay. Okay. Next question. Hi. If we use input formatter when the user clicks on submit, does the value being submitted includes all characters added by the formatter?
I would say yes, because then again, if you don't want if you don't want the value to include the separators, or if you want to filter out some of the characters from the form values, you can also do that in the function when you submit it. So yeah, it depends. Both ways are possible.
Okay, cool. And then another question from Darren. So for localization, can we include different formats for number and date, time used by different locales?
Yes, actually there's a, what do you call it? Like the art file, it takes a setting, and I think it's called format. There's the specifics of that are in the, I forget which document specifically, but basically, yes, this is supported, but then I have to figure out where to get it. I'll like share a link if I can find it.